Q92.9, Springfield's rock station. I have the very distinct pleasure of speaking to a very talented artist from New York, proudly representing all the boroughs of New York, Mr. Des Rocs. He shared the stage with Limp Bizkit, the Rolling Stones, and he's known for what's called bedroom arena rock. He recently dropped the full-length album To Hell and Back, and he's taking a little bit of time to hang out with us today. Hello, sir.
Hey, how you doing, my man?
I'm doing all right. Feel like we've had this conversation, but away we go. And I
Maybe in
appreciate
another
you taking the
lifetime.
time.
Yeah.
There it is. There it is.
In a past
All
life.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So let's talk about your latest album. I'm very excited about it, To Hell and Back, and it's a super cool listen.
Yeah, thank you. To Hell and Back is out now. It is really the culmination of my life's work. It is a gigantic, massive, epic, living, breathing rock and roll machine that I've poured every single ounce of my soul into, and I am so happy that it is finally out in the world.
Oh, that is great. And you are known for that. When you say every ounce of energy, heart, and soul, you're known for your super high energy shows. I was wondering if what your pre-show rituals are, or what do you do to prepare mentally and physically to get ready for one of these experiences?
So the band has no pre-show ritual because I strongly believe that if you have a ritual with the band members that you're supposed to do every night, and God forbid there's one night where you don't get to do that ritual because you never know what direction you're pulled on right before the show, then the whole time I'm gonna be on the stage, I'm gonna be thinking like, oh my God, we didn't do that ritual. But I have one thing I do that's not really a ritual, it's more just like a bad habit. And I will pace backstage for 2, 3 hours before the show, fully dressed, fully loaded with the guitar, everything with my in-ears in, just going back and forth like a maniac. And the rest of my band hates it and they can't stand it. So they're all like having dinner and doing their own things. And I'm just back there ready to go on. Sometimes the doors to the venue aren't even open yet.
That's wild. Well, and you probably take that time to sort of just what go over the show coming up or think about stuff in the past. Is there a certain, or is it like a meditative state where everything just sort of leaves the mind?
Yeah, it's just kind of gearing up for the intensity of what I'm about to do out there. And when I'm out on stage, I'm channeling like my whole life into every show, like so many experiences. And that's what makes me unique as an artist, is just my own perspective on things. I think that's what makes any artist unique. And I'll be thinking about the very, very beginning, like when I first started making music, all the way up until that current moment. And it kind of sounds cliche, like it sounds like a rock and roll biopic, with like flashbacks before you go out on stage, and it's like what you'd use as a narrative structure in a movie. But I actually do that. It's pretty intense and probably a little bit much, but I also am a bit much myself.
Hey, I've been called too much myself, so I appreciate the game absolutely.
Mm.
Well, speaking of that, you talk about your shows that you've done throughout time. You've been on the stage since 13 years old, if I read right.
Yeah, I started really young, and I would just play any place that would have me. And usually that was just to like a couple kids in a rec center or a couple bartenders at a completely empty spot in the Lower East Side at 2 p.m. on a Saturday afternoon. I would play all over the tri-state area. And then when I got my learner's permit, my driver's license, I was able to play all over the Northeast and just drive out and sleep in vans, crash in venues, sleep in people's basement floors, like anywhere that would have me. And I really played to nobody for a long, long time.
It's got to be slightly intimidating when there's no one there, at all. Uh, but let me ask: do you have a favorite spot in New York that you still like to go back to once in a while if you want to just like get away from the big chaos of it all?
To perform at or otherwise?
Yeah. Do you ever do that? Do you ever pop up somewhere in places like that? Or
When I was first starting Des Rocks, we would play under different names all over the city just to
oh,
like
cool.
kind of test things out and try and fine tune certain songs that I was working on and see what felt good, what didn't feel good. Because that's like
Yeah.
the real test is when you're getting on stage, you're like, oh, I wish I did this, I wish I did that. So in the early
Right.
days, I was doing a lot of that. These days, not so much because Des Rocks is like a pretty big production with a bunch
Yeah.
of people involved. But I do some acoustic stuff, and I've flirted with the idea a lot of just like popping into open mics in New York City and Long Island and just kind of dropping in. It's a great way to try new songs. I used to do that when I was a kid.
Oh, that's great. Do you remember the first song you learned when you picked up that guitar? You had said before off air that like as soon as you were old enough and strong enough to hold that guitar up, you were off to the races. Do you remember the first song you learned?
Yeah, I just learned like a bunch of random covers. I remember learning like Semisonic's Closing Time on guitar is one of the first ones, Blink-182's Damn It. And then like more lead stuff. I remember learning Purple Haze by Jimi Hendrix.
Right.
And
Yeah.
yeah, Smells Like Teen Spirit is like the kind of the cliche first thing
Yeah.
somebody learns. You know, it's a very accessible song to learn how to play and is pretty instantly gratifying.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's the three chords and a capo, and you're good to go, right?
Hmm.
Almost. Absolutely. So also you wrote the theme song for Borderlands 4, The Land. Tell me a little bit about that if you
Yeah, I was working on my album and they reached out saying they wanted a song that was just like really intense and over the top and kind of otherworldly. And my first thought is just like, all right, hold my beer. You know, like this is what I do. And I was working on this idea that I showed them and they said, oh, perfect. And it was really a match made in heaven.
Right on. Yeah, you've come to the right place. You've come to the right man.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And finally, talking about having that fan base, yours are known as the Filthy Animals. Tell me the origin, like how did they decide on that, and how cool is it to have such an interactive fan base?
Yeah, I just started like calling a couple people like you filthy animal in passing, and then people really like adopted it and took it on themselves. It was super, super cool to see. It's an incredible community of people who love and appreciate rock and roll and have an admiration for a certain performance style that I feel like is sorely missing today. One that is deeply personal, not cookie cutter, not sanitized, very real, very raw, but also very dramatic and very theatrical. And they're people who I have amazing relationships with personally. People who, when I travel, I know exactly who I'm going to see in the front row in Detroit, exactly who I'm going to see in the front row in Atlanta. I know their names, I know their lives, I know their families. And without them, I'm nothing. Because in today's landscape of making music, the hardest thing to do is to cut through. And when you have people who appreciate your music and genuinely connect with you, that is the most beautiful and rare thing of all time, and I cherish each and one of those relationships deeply.
Man, that's beautifully put. Having that communication piece, and I know fans of yours are definitely going to love to hear that you have that same connection. I mean, if on this side of things, I love it when I feel like a musician is able to be like, "Oh man, I swear you wrote that about me," or
Yeah.
and then when you bring your real life interactions with them. Well, before I let you go, do you have any upcoming work or anything you want to talk about or let the folks know?
Yeah, I mean, I got an entire bunch of touring coming up. We're going to be doing a festival in Wisconsin in a couple of weeks called Rock Fest, and then I'm heading over to Europe for a headline tour. And there's just so much more to come, so stay tuned.
All right, absolutely. Well, Danny, thank you so much for taking the time. I really appreciate it, man, and I appreciate your patience with me
Of
as I
course,
work.
brother.
All right. Hey,
Let's do
thanks
it again.
again.
Yeah.
All right. Well, hey, when you're coming back through Missouri, I'm gonna find you. I'll be right up there with the filthy animals.
Absolutely, brother. Thank you so much.
All right. Thank you, and have a good one.
Of course, you too, my man. See ya.